Hello, everyone. It's Tabitha Fritz. Welcome back to Level Up. Now, one of the most common questions that I hear from cannabis consumers is what's the best strain for fill in the blank, right? Focus, sleep, creativity, anxiety, energy, you name it. And the problem is that the answers to that aren't nearly as simple as most people have been led to believe. So, in this workshop, we are going to unpack what actually drives cannabis effects. We'll talk about why the indica sativa conversation is often pretty misleading and how you can make better product choices based on the outcomes you're looking for. Now, this workshop was originally presented at a cannabis conference here in Toronto, and I'm excited to share this consumer focused version of the workshop with you. It was originally meant for bud tenders and cannabis industry professionals. So, if you are a bud tender or a cannabis industry professional, or you just want more information about this topic, there is an additional workshop that you can download for free from my Podia page. So I will put the link in the description below for that. It goes in a little bit more in depth and speaks specifically about how you can make recommendations based on this type of information. So with that being said, let's dive in.
So, like you said, this is navigating different products for different effects. Okay, so the objectives for this session, by the end of the session today, you should be able to use cannabis knowledge to identify potential effects, catering to customers' intentional consumption needs. And also, let me tell you, if you want to take pictures of any slides, please feel free to do that. You can take all this away. Confidently recommend specific products based on customer preferences and desired effects, and guide customers in intentional consumption practices for optimizing their cannabis experiences. So, we get customers who come in and say, like, I'm looking to achieve this certain thing with cannabis. How do I do that? So as a bud tender or someone who's working in a retail shop, you want to be able to make a recommendation that's good so that they keep coming back to your store, right? So essentially, that's what we'll be looking at in this today. So here's what you will learn. Number one, the spectrum of cannabis effects. So they come from lots of different places. So we'll look at that. The placebo effect and how important that is. Customer consultation. So how do you work with a customer to really understand what they're looking for? And then a role play workshop. So let's start with the spectrum of cannabis effects. So have you ever heard of the entourage effect? Yeah, obviously, right? So the entourage effect says that it takes a whole combination of things to create the effects that we experience when we consume cannabis, right? So number one, we start with the head inside the circle here, and that represents the consumer's personal biology, because we each have an endocannabinoid system. The role of the endocannabinoid system is to maintain balance, homeostasis, right? And so that means a different thing for every single person. It means a different thing from moment to moment. It means a different thing from one day to the next, right? So personal biology is very unique. We can't necessarily even understand our personal biology in the moment, let alone a consumer's that we're working with, right? So personal biology is one of the things that contributes to effects. We've also got cannabinoids, right? We've got THC and CBD here on the slide, but there are others as well. We've got CBG, CBN, CBC, THCV, all these other minors that also contribute to the effects, right? So we combine those with the terpenes and the other sensory molecules, terpenes, esters, flavonoids, volatile sulfur compounds. Those are also going to contribute to the effects. And then we come back to the middle circle with the consumer set and setting. So we've got all four of these things that combine together to come up with the outcome of effects, right? That's the entourage effect. So it's very difficult to necessarily predict what the outcome of the cannabis experience is going to be, because we have all of these the interplay of these different factors, right? Okay, so this is a chart from a study that was done. And what I want you to take away from this chart is how many different potential effects cannabis could provide. So here on the bottom axis, we have 18 endocannabinoids, so those cannabinoids that are produced by our body, plus 32 plant cannabinoids, so that's 50 different cannabinoids there on the left axis. And then on the right axis, we've got 42 cannabinoid receptors in our body, right? So just combining those two things, the cannabinoids with our cannabinoid receptors, we have all of these potential effects that could do all these different things and treat all these different conditions, right? It would be almost impossible for a bud tender or someone working in a retail shop to have that memorized. Think about that ahead of time, to know exactly, oh, this is what you should take to do this and this, right? So the takeaway from this slide is that it would be very, very complicated to give a very precise response to someone who's looking for a direct effect, okay? Now, this is from a study that was done of bud tenders in 2016 in Colorado, where there were a lot of dispensaries already operating. So they took a look at the people who were coming to these dispensaries for specific conditions. They were looking for help for specific conditions. And we've got here on the left what those conditions were: chronic pain, insomnia, anxiety, PTSD, all sorts of different things that people were searching for help about, right? And at least in Canada, and I think also in the States and a lot of places, we don't give medical advice, right? We don't give medical advice in our dispensaries. But that doesn't mean that people with these conditions aren't going to be coming in looking for help and advice and treatment, right? So we can certainly talk about the way that cannabis can help with these conditions if we're very precise with our language, if we're very accurate with what we say. And we say things like, people who have cancer have used cannabis in this way to help treat these symptoms of their condition, right? That's an accurate thing to say. That's truthful. We don't say cancer or weed cures cancer. That's not very helpful, right? Even it may be true, it may have worked for some people, but that's not a helpful thing to say to a cancer patient who's coming into your shop looking for relief with their symptoms, right? So the takeaway from this is that we can speak about it even though we're not necessarily giving medical advice, especially when we're talking about the symptoms of those treatments of people who come in. Okay, now this is a quote from that study. In terms of plant strain recommendations, very little work has documented patient preference of the specific efficacy of certain cannabis strains as a function of clinical condition. So in other words, we don't have a lot of research saying this strain treats this condition. We don't have that research, right? Because strains are so different from one grow to another. It's hard to even express the same terpenes or the same cannabinoid profile, right? So it would be very difficult to say Girl Scout cookies treats this condition. And also, everyone's body is different, right? Just like we saw at the very beginning slide, personal biology is a huge component in a cannabis outcome or a cannabis experience. So we can't necessarily predict it. Now, also from that study, they surveyed the bud tenders in these dispensaries and said, how are you making recommendations? Okay. And so they took a look at the recommendations bud tenders were making by condition. And they said, first, we're going to look at and see if it's a sativa, indica, or hybrid that they're recommending. And if you look here, the numbers are all across the board. They are completely inconsistent. For, let's say, cachexia, wasting syndrome. So that's where people have a hard time eating, right? So 32% sativa, 36% indica, 32% hybrid. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to any of these numbers, right? Because I think probably most of us in this room know, sativa, indica, using that to really like say, this is what it's going to be. Everything's a hybrid now, right? Pretty much everything's a hybrid. So using sativa, indica, or hybrid to make a recommendation doesn't really work, okay? That's the takeaway from this slide. Now, while observations related to strain recommendations are interesting, due to extensive hybridization and variations in growing conditions, the differences between cannabis strains do not seem to play as large a role in determining subjective effects as cannabinoid concentrations. So more important than strain is knowing what your cannabinoid concentrations are. THC, CBD, the minors, right? So understanding that. So if we come back to our chart again, this time we've got high THC on the left, high CBD in the middle, and a 1-to-1 ratio on the right. So let's take a look at the numbers again. If I go back to cachexia, I've got 54% high THC, 32% high CBD, 43% 1-to-1 ratio. So I've still got quite an array of numbers here. I don't see bud tenders necessarily only prescribing THC for this specific condition, right? Some of them are starting to lean that way. Let's find one here. If you look at appetite, which is the fourth one down, 63% of bud tenders were recommending a high THC strain. That makes sense, right? You smoke some THC and you get the munchies. Like, it makes sense to me, right? So we're starting to see more standardization when we look at just using cannabinoids to make a recommendation, okay? Now, in the same study, they asked those bud tenders, what are the steps you take to make a recommendation? So this is how those bud tenders were making recommendations. First, they identified the particular condition or ailment, right? Like obviously, if someone's coming in saying, I need help with I'm not being able to eat, I need to know that if I'm going to help you treat it. The experience of other consumers. Okay, so this is after you identify why that person's coming in, the very next thing that the bud tenders were using was their anecdotal knowledge of what other people have consumed and shared with them, worked for them, right? Because that's really the information that we have about cannabis is anecdotal. We don't have a lot of research, it's limited. So that is a completely appropriate way to make a recommendation, is to say, this is what has worked for other people, this is what other people have reported to me. You want to try it, right? It might work for you. Let's try it. Consumer preferences or needs, right? Like knowing if somebody doesn't want to smoke, you're not going to recommend a dry bud for them to smoke. You're not going to give them a pre-roll, right? Their own personal experience, so the bud tender's personal experience, right? So again, you can say it's better to have an array of knowledge from other people and say, like this, we were talking about a diversity of opinions before, to say this is what a lot of people have said. But in the absence of that, you can certainly say, this is what I've found in my own consumption, right? Information obtained from scientific articles. So any articles that you've read, any research that you've read, the dispensary owner, other staff recommendations, information obtained from websites, a new variety or unusual rare breed, and 20% what needs to get moved out of inventory. Because like at the end of the day, we do sometimes have to get shit moved out of the store. Okay. So this is another tool that you can use. So knowing the cannabinoids, right? So we've identified the condition that the person wants to treat. We've identified which cannabinoids are probably going to help. We've thought about other people's experiences. And so if we go back now to the very beginning, we said there were all of these factors in the outcome of cannabis experience. And one of those factors was the terpene profile of the product that we were consuming. So this is a terpene wheel, and there are a number of terpene wheels that exist. This one is from Kinlock Wellness, a company that I really like because they actually provide THC-free products. So it's very interesting, right? Because it's easy to just add on a bit of THC, but this way you've got the minors already included together along with the terpenes. So something like this would enable you to go, okay, someone's coming in and they really want to treat sleep. They can't stay asleep. They want to stay resting. So I'm going to look for a product over here. And then it would identify, these are the terpenes, right, that are restful, that would help that person sleep. So you could identify terpenes that are generally treating the condition that you're looking to treat, right? So this would be one tool that you could use to identify the terpenes that you would want to use to treat that condition. There are other terpene wheels that exist as well. You can find them on the internet. Okay, now, a very important component in making a recommendation for your customer is priming your customer's expectations, right? Because the placebo effect is a very, very real thing. And when you understand it, you can use it to your advantage, to your benefit, okay? So the placebo effect, generally, cannabinoids help with a lot. They help with pain, inflammation, metabolic, and stress-related conditions in preclinical animal models. I have my disclaimer on there. But translating this data to humans is tough. Lots and lots of anecdotal information, but the lack of standardization of cannabis products and of clinical trials keep us from making medical claims. Okay, we talked about this before. But what we do know is that people can start to feel better by simply smelling or looking at weed. So that indicates how powerfully the plant allows us to harness the placebo effect for our own health, right? For sure, that's probably happened to you before. If you've consumed weed for a while, right? You're like, oh, I feel like crap. I'm going to go have some weed. And then you smell it and you start to feel better before you even consume it. You're like, yep, I'm going to feel better. I was on a terpene panel yesterday, and Tanner Stewart from Stewart Farms was talking about a study that he read about coffee. For people who drink coffee every morning, the smell of coffee changes your brain chemistry and you suddenly feel more alert and awake, right? Before you even consumed any coffee. I'm going to tell you about some more studies. The placebo effect occurs when a person believes they are receiving treatment and experiences real physiological changes, even if the treatment has no therapeutic value. Okay? So their body actually changes even though there's nothing happening to them. That's because the human brain can produce a complex array of chemicals and neurotransmitters that mimic the effects of actual medication. Okay, so there was a study that was done on dental patients. And if you've experienced dental pain in your life, you know that it's like terrible and horrible, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Like, it's just there and you can't get away from it at all. So they did a study in a dentist's office on dental patients, and half of the dental patients they gave an opioid to for the pain, and the other half of the patients they gave a placebo to. So it had no medication in it. And I can't remember if it was 60 or 65% of the patients who received a placebo reported pain reduction. Okay, let me say that again. 65% of the people who got a placebo said their pain went down. Now, what happened? Their brain said, oh, I'm getting a medication. I'm going to start producing opioids in my brain that will help to reduce the pain. So their brain actually created these neurotransmitters in their brain and gave them a pain reduction. Your brain is incredibly powerful. People's brains are really powerful. So when you know that, you can actually work with it. There was another depression treatment study where they gave people with depression, half got a placebo, half got an actual antidepressant, an SSRI. And the people who got a placebo improved, like 30% of them experienced an improved condition. It was more than 30, it was 70, I think. So like their brain was creating those neurotransmitters that were missing, that was creating the depression in their brain, right? There was another one, Parkinson's study and dopamine. So Parkinson's, often people with Parkinson's will have less dopamine in their brain. It's one of the things that creates their symptoms. So they gave a placebo, a sugar pill, to people with Parkinson's, and it increased the dopamine levels in their brain. The placebo didn't do that. Their brain did it, right? So giving a placebo to someone, all it does is primes your brain to start doing something, to start producing the conditions and the chemicals. That's what we want to be able to do with our customers, okay? So here's the connection to cannabis. Mind and wellness. Understanding the placebo effect can inform how you communicate with your customers about expectations, product effects, and wellness goals. Now, it's about responsible education, okay? So you don't want to overstate the product benefits, but you do want to be aware that positive expectations can have real effects, okay? So we want to make sure that whatever recommendation we're making to our customer, we have no idea if it's going to work for them or not, right? We don't know. We're making our best guess. We're making an educated guess based on our knowledge, based on what we know, based on the conversation that we had with them, but we don't know if it's going to work. However, there's a much greater chance that it will work if the customer expects it to, right? So if that's our attitude and the way that we engage in that conversation with them, we're saying like, I think this has worked for a lot of people. I expect that it will work for you. Please try it, come back, you let me know. And then you let their brain do the rest, right? You're not tricking them. It's not about tricking anyone, but it's about getting people into a positive state of mind before they even try the product. Okay, so it's about power. Like I said, it's not about trickery, but it's a testament to the brain's powerful ability to influence the body. It reflects the body's natural ability to heal and respond, right? And every single one of those placebo studies that I talked about, the brain actually did that. The body did that and created those conditions. So this is what you're getting the person's body to do for them. And you can offer personalized wellness strategies. A positive mindset, clear communication, and proper guidance can harness these natural mechanisms to enhance well-being. So when you know ahead of time that this is what you're doing, that this is how you're helping this person, is by creating this positive state of mind, you know that you can give them these personalized strategies for them, that even if it's not perfect, it will work for them. It will work better for them because they're expecting it to.